Good morning, everyone. So, in the last session, we have discussed the purchasing options up to receipt close point. Okay, receipt close point. And one more thing. So, the purchasing options, financial options, all are in OU specific. Okay. So, how do we know it is OU specific? So, see here, it is asking OU. Okay, it is OU specific. So we also have Argo level setup that is receiving options. So where you can see the organization name here and you can select the inventory organizations. Okay. And the financial options also it is operating unit level. So if you remember when we open financial options for the first time, right, it is asking us to select operating unit, right? And it was defaulted. How it was defaulted? Based on profile options. Okay. MO operating unit and MO default operating unit profile options. The OE is defaulted. Okay. Fine. So anyhow, the purchasing options, financial options are OU specific. Even further, we will be having approval groups, approval assignments. Those are also OU specific. Okay. And we also have buyer that is also OU specific. Fine. At once we complete all the setups, so we'll again discuss which all the setups are which what level. Okay. Fine. Fine. Next discuss cancel requisition. Okay. Cancel requisition. So we actually have automation process where if you cancel the purchase order, so it's again the purchase order created against the requisition. And finally, so the requisition was created and PO also converted, okay, from the requisition. And it's been for a while, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, and still the discussion is going on with the outside with choosing a best supplier. The discussion is going on. So in the meantime, from the directors or managers, okay, they asking us to like us means they asking buyer to cancel the purchase order. It's not required. They don't need to cancel. Even after selecting supplier and everything is finalized, but they have not received the item and they got some sudden requirement from director saying that we don't need the these items which is created for this supplier. We don't need. Okay. That kind of requirement they might receive. So in that case, when they cancel the purchase order, okay, when they cancel the purchase order, so do you want to always cancel the requisition also? Okay. Whenever a purchase order cancelled, associate that was created from the requisition. Okay. So in that case, what do you want to do with the requisition? The source order. Okay, the initial document. Do you want to always cancel or never means you don't need to cancel? Okay. You will be maybe you will again use that requisition for creating other orders. In that case, you go for select never. Always in the sense it will always go and cancel it. Okay. And optionally, so it is an optional. Okay. So whenever you cancel the purchase order, right? In the when you canceling, you will be having a one checkbox. So where it will you can enable like cancel requisition checkbox will be there. So if you enable the checkbox, then always like the requisition will be cancelled. Okay. The requisition will be cancelled. If you're not disable, then that it won't cancel. That is optional. If you choose optional, it is it will decide while the buyer is canceling the purchase order, it will decide it is up to him whether to choose cancel requisition or not to choose cancel requisition. If they go with always it will the checkbox will be enabled and it's again the checkbox will be enabled automatically. The checkbox will be enabled and whenever they click on OK and the purchase order will be cancelled. Along with that, the requisition also will be cancelled. Okay, fine. So for now, I'll select optionally. So when we are doing this scenario test, right? So will we go and select each one of option and we will try. Okay, fine, fine. So next is so we'll be discussing which is mandatory, which is important one. Okay, fine. So this is something SPI buying company identifier. I'm not aware of this. Okay. And next is, and again, specific some fields actually they will be incorporating in these forms, which is related to some other functionality, some other companies and all. Okay. And again here, so in front end, right? When I say front end application. So this is also like front end only, but the forms. So here the forms. Okay. In these forms, if you open any one of the form, how do you identify whether it is mandatory or optional? Based on the background color. So if the if the field is having a background color as yellow, it means that it is mandatory, right? But it is a UI form. This is UI, user interface form. So in this case, so how do you identify whether it is mandatory or not? So if you see this one, first one, wherever you see star, that indicates required field, means it is a mandatory field. So if you see all of these are optional only, we can even simply go and complete the setup. So what which is important here means which is mandatory. If you see this one is mandatory. Okay, this one is mandatory. But it's better if we set up all of this so that every time whenever they create the document, right, you can have a better control. At the same time, you can have some reduction on the user creations. Okay, means if you can set up the default things, and it will automatically default whenever they create orders. Okay, fine. So next is output format. So the POPDF output, how do you want? Do you want PDF or text? So mostly we go for PDF only. So it will also default with PDF. So the purchase order, whenever it is approved, then we have PO output communication and PDF programs which will generate a PDF. Okay, a PDF document will be generated so that you can be sent to supplier. And also system once approved, right? So automatically the system will pick the email address from the supplier creations level. Okay, and it will send to that supplier by attaching the PDF. Okay, fine. So maximum attachment size, you can control it here. So what is this? Document control, right? So the control. So maximum attachment size in MB. Okay, that MB you can choose, and if the document is exceed that MB, the document itself will not generate. Okay, will not generate. So and next is email attachment file name. So how do you want to save the file name? Okay, for example, this is South ABC SI PO. Okay, ABC SI PO, and you may give some something. This is enough. This is like prefix, and after this, the PO number will be come here. Okay, automatically the system will have the PO number after this. So by just saying this, they can understand. Okay, they can means the buyers procurement team can be understand by just seeing the attachment name. Okay, so it is created in South India. Okay, fine. I'll just keep this. Okay, and if you want to keep here, you can keep here. Okay, how much you want. Okay, for example, the attachment size, it won't more than some 10 MB like that, right? It even more than that. So I'll go for 50. Okay, 50. That's it. Just a document. Okay, if it's just a document, fine. Down. So up to here. Then next. So enforce price tolerance. Okay, enforce price tolerance. Someone is keep on joining. Okay, okay. So this two, if you want to use this two, you just enable this. You just enable this two. Okay, and set the tolerance percentage here. Enable this to set the tolerance percentage. That's it. Okay. Price tolerance, if you want to use it, you enable this and you set this here. Okay. Price tolerance. So, so what I'll do is I'll go and set 5% and the bulk amount. So it's like bulk amount. It should not be more than 10,000 increment. Okay. Fine. Fine. Displayed disposition message. This which is I'm not sure. Okay. We can explore. We can explore about it. Okay. So notify if blanket PO exists. Okay. Sometimes this option is like, so whenever you're creating a new purchase orders, okay, and for that new purchase order, if you have already a valid blanket purchase agreement, then it is not necessary to create again PO, right? It's not necessary because you already have a already we have a PO exists. It will just give you one notification, okay, and then it's up to buyer to create or cancel the, means not to create new document if you enable this. Okay, fine. So next is allow item description update in purchase orders. Whenever you select the item, so you will be having a description field, means item description field. So item description basically default from the item master. Okay, item master form. And again, if you want to have a specific naming, if you want to update any key information in the item description, because the item description will be printing in the PO documents. Okay, that's the reason. If you want to update it, you can enable it. So if you enable it, the purchase order, in the purchase order, you can able to update. Okay, fine. So enforce buyer name. So once it is created and everything is fine, again, if you want to change the buyer name, you can enable this. If you enable this, you can able to change the buyer name. Okay, buyer name. And enforce all this option we will see. We are now just discussing the options and the theory. Okay, but again, once we set up all the configuration and all, right, so each one of is our one task list for us. Okay, one test script for us. And this is enforce supplier hold. Supplier hold. So supplier enforce supplier hold in the sense, sometimes we can keep the suppliers on hold, saying that we should not buy the items. When it is on hold, if you want to enforcely and go ahead and procure the material, you can enable this. Okay. And this is gapless invoicing number. So in accounts payable, if you want to generate gapless invoicing number, you can enable this. Okay. And RFQ required. So if you enable this RFQ required, then if you for each and every document, a RFQ should be mandatory. So if you enable this, then each and every time you have to select, you have to create RFQ before creating a purchase order. Means you have to send a request for quotation and you have to get quotation from outside and you have to validate and then you have to create PO. You means the buyers. Okay, fine. So this is document control section. So anyone have any questions? Here all are we are something like controlling in the document, right? That's the reason it's a document control. Okay. So next is document defaults. So if you see the word defaults, which is something defaulting in the purchase orders, we will set up here, okay, what to default. And whenever you are creating a purchase order and which if it is match the criteria, then the details will be defaulted from here. Okay, fine. So requisition import group by. So when requisition import group by in the sense, so we will be we can create a requisition manually. Okay, and we can also automate the requisition by taking the details from other system to Oracle system. It's like by just pasting, like by just having the details in the interface table, pure equation header interface, pure equations interface all table, we can have the data Okay, once the data is available, then we have a requisition import program that will pick the data. So this is one way. And another way is, so if you are using a ASCP, Advanced Supply Chain Planning, okay? If you are using ASCP, Advanced Supply Chain Planning, the system will automatically suggest, a system will automatically suggest to procure the material. It will interface the data, interface the data into requisition interface table. So once the data is there in the requisition interface table, and again, not only ASCP, if you are using min-max planning also, okay. In inventory, we have one of the planning, min-max planning, right? Again, all inventory plannings, if you are using, right, then that all inventory plannings also have a capability to interface the data, means collect the required collect the required information and push the data into requisition interface table. So like planning, okay, it's like planning. It is like feature expectation. We may get this much of quantity demand, okay. So to fulfill that demand in that time, so we should start procurement now itself for the component and make the finished good, okay. So that kind of planning. In that case, the data will be coming into interface table, PO requisition interface tables. Okay. So once the data is there, then how do you want to import? So that is the option here. So now we understand how the data will come into interface table. Now import group by. So how do you want? Based on item, based on supplier, based on buyer, category, vendor. Vendor means supplier. Okay. Vendor, supplier, same one. Based on the location you want to import, based on item, category, buyer, or if you choose all, based on all conditions. Okay. So if I choose the buyer in the requisition interface table, I have 4 records. Okay. I have 4 records. Okay. And the 4 records having 2 records having one buyer name, for example, Ravi, and another 2 records having 2 different names. Okay. Maybe Mahesh and Ram. So in that case, how many requisitions will be created? I have 4 records in that interface table. In that case, how many records will be created? Means how many requisitions will be created? If I select buyer group by, I'll tell again. Okay. 2 records having one person name, it's called Ravi, and one record having Mahesh and one record having Ram. Okay. So in that case, I have 4 records, but will create 3 records only. Means 3 requisitions only. One requisition with the 2 lines, another 2 requisitions will be with each one line, because you are going with buyer. Okay, buyer. In a similar way, you have 20 lines in the interface table, and in the 20 lines, okay, each 5 lines having like five lines having one item. So in this case, 4 equations will be created. So that's called group by. Okay, group by. If everything is same item, same buyer, you don't need to create multiple requisitions. You can have all those items, okay, in one single requisition. So that purpose we use this requisition import group by. Okay, if you want to go and select all conditions, you can select else specific. I'll choose buyer. Okay, I'll choose buyer. Fine. So this is internal requisition order type. So internal requisition order type in OEM side, we create one internal requisition. Okay, internal requisition order type. So it's again, I guess, internal requisition order type. In AME, we may have this. Okay, in AME we may have this approval management approval system will be there. So how same like employee supervisor hierarchy and position hierarchy. So we have AME approval management engine. So that is something separate module. Okay, separate module. So in that case, you may select some requisition approval type here. Okay, and requisition order source, internal requisition order source, it will be internal only always. Okay, it will be internal only. Okay, fine. So next is, so we'll see this one when we start order management, right? Configuring the setups. I feel we attach internal R type, but I'm in confusion like whether it is a internal R type or it's related to AME. Okay, we'll see. I guess it is AME. We'll confirm in order management. Okay, fine. So internal requisition order source internal. Okay, receipt close tolerance. So receipt close tolerance in the sense, say this close. Okay, close tolerance. Wherever you see tolerance, and you will be have, if you have the percentage, right? Tolerance percentage, it is something like it will go on or it will go on measure based on percentage you specify here. Okay, so it doesn't matter what is front of it, just whenever you see tolerance, I'm just talking about tolerance, not the receipt close. Okay, if you see here also, so whenever the specific value is matched to this percentage, then automatically the applicable action will applied and it will be behave. Okay, if it is receipt close tolerance, purchase order close tolerance, anything. Okay, and if you see here we have specified receipt close point. This is something like point at what time, accepted time. So I'll choose this and delivered, because after delivered only we have to close. Okay, at delivered, I think we selected delivered only in last session. Okay, fine. Okay, receipt close tolerance, here we'll understand this receipt close tolerance. So for example, the PO created with 100 quantity. Okay, PO created with 100 quantity, and the receiver is received 98 quantity. Remaining 2 quantity they not received. So in that case, do you want system to keep the receiving status open, or do you want to system to close it automatically? If you want to close it automatically, then you can use this receipt close tolerance percentages. Okay, receipt close tolerance percentage you can use. So the percentage you can have to set here 98 percentage. If we were created with a 200 quantity, okay, if we were created with a 200 quantity, and if I only received 195 quantity, in that case the receipt will close automatically. Hmm? Will it close? Receipt close tolerance. Can you?
Approval required.
No, no, not up. No, I'm not talking about approval. Okay, so this is just receipt close. Means once PO is created, then we do receiving activity. Okay, once we do receiving activity, if 100% we received, right? If 100% we received, then system will automatically close it. Okay, in very rare scenarios. So what is the meaning of this? Like, you created a PO with 100 quantity, but your supplier is supplied 98 quantity or 99 quantity. Maybe that one quantity you might discuss with him saying that I don't need two quantity, except two quantity you send it everything. You might have that kind of discussion. And again, it's a meaning of it's not a big deal for supplier to send remaining two quantity also, right? In that case, do you want to have a functionality saying that if you specify some percentage here, and if it is received within that percentage, then the system will automatically close the receiving point. Okay, receiving point. So we'll see. I think when we start each topic discussion, you will understand. So my question was like PO created was created with 200 quantity. Okay, and I have received 195 quantity, and I set up here receipt close tolerance 98 percentage. In that case, the receipt will close automatically. That means the receiving status will close automatically. The shipment status. No, right? It won't close because you have to receive at least 196 or 197, 98, 198. You understand, right? The percentage calculation. Okay. So this much percentage, if you receive, then it will close. Same for in close invoice tolerance also. Okay, invoice tolerance also same. For example, you have created 100 quantity. Okay, you have created 100 quantity and you received 100 quantity also, but invoice is created for 98 quantity only. So remaining quantity, maybe the supplier is said no need to create for remaining, no need to create for two quantity. It's like you can say free of cost. It maybe just assume in that scenarios. So in that case, system, do you want the system to uh, close the invoice after you create invoice for 98 quantity? Even though you received 100 quantity, you are creating a 98 quantity invoice. In that case, for remaining two quantity, do you want to keep the invoice status open or do you want to close? That you can set up here. Okay, I'll set up here 99, 99 percentage. Okay, so next is code warning delay. So we have after we send the uh, RFQ request quotation, so delay means like you have mentioned in the website saying that it by next 15 days. Okay, like the RFQ validity is like 15 days only. In this 15 days, the suppliers has to submit their code. Okay, code. If anyone is delayed, how much you want to delay, how many days you want to make it delay, and you want to trigger some kind of warning. Okay, code warning delay, that days you can set up here. Okay, fine. So acceptance required flag. So in acceptance required flag, if you are using again iSupplier model, okay, if you are using iSupplier model, this will come actually. Okay, acceptance required flag. So whenever you create a PO document and it is approved, and you will be sending it to suppliers. Okay, if you're not using iSupplier model. If you're using iSupplier model, right, then they will be having a user account in our Oracle. So we only create for one user account for our suppliers, and the suppliers will receive the PO notification there, and they have to accept. Accept means we enter the item this much quantity, this is the price, and this date we need the items. So they have to review and they have to accept it. Okay. So in that case, what do you want in the acceptance? Do you want like kind of document their document number? So once we send the document, right, they'll also create a sales order in their system. It means it is referring that document. Okay, and signatures. Okay, proxy signature or signature, a document or shipment number. Their side, it's referring their side document number means sales order number or shipment. Their side delivery. Whereas it is shipment number. So what do you want? Okay. Since we don't use iSupplier model now, so I'm not selecting this option. Okay, fine. So next is line type. So line type. So we procure tangible item and intangible items. So when I say tangible item, it's like goods where the item you can touch, where the item you can move from one place to other place, right? We also have service items. When I say service, you bought the TV and you required a service. Okay, or kind of warranty, or kind of subscription. Basically, when if you take Airtel Digital TV, you take a subscription of one maybe 1 month or 6 months or 1 year, right? That's called subscription, right? So those kind of it. So we can buy anything, either it is goods, service, any warranty or subscription and all. So in that case, whenever you create a documents, what line type you want to default, it will be goods. Okay, you can just click on this torch icon, search. So you will be having all things. See, services, expenses, okay, consulting quantity, consulting amount based goods. These are all Oracle provided. Okay, so go and choose this goods. If you want to define separate line type on your own, you can also define. Okay, that's possible. Fine. So rate type, we will be having a here corporate. Yeah, corporate. So this corporate means so rate type. First of all, rate type. If you remember, we when we creating currencies, do we discuss currency conversions? So currency conversion in the sense like you are dealing the operations from one country to other country. For example, you are shipping the items from India to US. Okay, you are shipping the item from India to US. In that case, the US company will pay the amount to you in dollars, right? In dollars. When they pay amount in dollars, your primary currency is, see, your company is in India. Your primary currency INR, right? Between INR and USD, there should be a conversion rate. Okay. So now what is the conversion rate between INR to USD? Something like 82 or something is there, right? So that conversion rate will be defined under this corporate. Okay. Under this corporate, you will be having. You can also maintain custom one, but this is the Oracle provided one, corporate. So it's like predefined one. Okay. Predefined one. Fine, it's fine. This rate defining new custom rate type and all, it's related to finance. People has to take position. Okay, fine. So next is match approval level. Match approval level. Okay. So this is kind of interview question. Okay, important interview question. So you will be having two-way, three-way, and four-way. Two-way, three-way, and four-way. So fine. So the first is two-way in the sense. So whenever you create a purchase order and after that receiving activity, after that invoicing, right? Whenever you create invoice, okay, the invoice, it's not like something you just create, like for example, you created 100 quantity and you are creating invoice 200 quantity, 300 quantity. It won't make sense, right? How do you want to control and how do you want to have matching? Okay, so in that case, this approval match level will help. So two-way in the sense the invoice quantity, right? Whatever they're creating invoice quantity, that has to match with PO quantity. Two-way. Okay. The invoice quantity, whatever they're creating invoice, if they specify the quantity, that quantity has to match with PO if it is two-way. If it is three-way, the invoice quantity has to match with PO quantity and receiving quantity. Here what will happen? Only PO. If you not do receiving activity, even you can match the PO, and you can proceed for payment and all to the supplier. You don't have much control here, right? You don't have much control. But here we have a control. You are matching to PO at the same time, matching to receiving activity also, whether you received or not. See, PO can be created even 1,000 quantity, but receiving can happen once in a 100 quantity, like this month 100 quantity, next month 100 quantity, like that. In that case, now itself you won't go and pay amount, right? Supplier. Okay. That's why if you go with three-way, you can have receiving quantity also. Based on receiving quantity also, it has to match. Once it is matched, then only you can go further level in invoicing. Okay, right. That is three-way. I'll tell again once. So the invoice quantity has to match with PO quantity and receiving quantity. Okay, just give me a second.